But your last name is Aiken.
Yeah, that's confusing me too.
Why did you think your last name was Aiken and your father's last name was Jenkins? And so, were you together last night?
Oh, no, he was with his girlfriend.
Miss Brittany brings her mother to court claiming that she committed paternity fraud. She says that the man she grew up calling dad may not actually be her father, and she's in court to prove it. Her mother Bonnie says that she's committed no crime, and once the results come out, it will prove she never did commit any paternity fraud of any sort.
Say you've committed no crime and believe once the DNA results prove who you claim is your daughter's biological father, you want an apology. Is that correct?
Your Honor.
Miss Brittany says that for years, ever since she was young, her mother has been lying to her about who her daddy is. She says she's hurt and tired and she does want to know. The reason why she has the most doubt of paternity is that her father, at least the one she grew up calling father, didn't actually believe he was her father. He told her years back that there's a chance that he may not be her father.
A couple years back, told me that my mom told him that I wasn't his daughter, but he was like, whatever it is.
Wait a minute. I never in my life told that.
Miss Bonnie says that she's never once told him that. Well, at least he believed it enough to unload that burden onto her. Well, Miss Bonnie believes and is currently sure that the father of her daughter is Mr. Jenkins. Well, he was because he was there.
Throughout your childhood, you were told that Mr. Jenkins was your biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have a relationship with him?
I had a wonderful relationship with my daddy. I loved him dearly.
Well, what gave birth to more doubt was when she went to get the birth certificate for the survivor's check after Mr. Jenkins' death. That's when she stumbled upon the mystery that brought her to court. She says on her birth certificate is a name that she doesn't even remember.
You've never heard of him?
I heard of him, but I never seen him as in person.
But your last name is Aiken?
Yeah, that's confusing me too.
Miss Bonnie says that she wasn't having any relationship with anyone else during that time, and that's why she's sure it's Mr. Jenkins. She and Mr. Elkin, the man who's on the birth certificate, were separated at the time.
They're at the time.
No, we was not.
You were separated.
We were separated.
And you were having a relationship with Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you having a relationship, ma'am, with anyone else?
No, ma'am.
Miss Bonnie says she knows her conception date because then, when she and Mr. Jenkins were having sex, the bed broke down and they kept on doing it. She's positive that's how she conceived her. Well, after she saw the birth certificate, she went to confront her mother.
And I said, well, do you know where I can find Thomas at? And she said yes, and we took her down there.
I got out the car and went to the house, and then I knocked on the door.
Right after she and her mother went to see the man who's on her birth certificate, they didn't meet him at home. But she met his mother, who she says has similarities to in terms of their size. That's something to note, but it's also important to note that when you're in doubt, everything seems like the truth.
I see all Mr. Jenkins in her.
You see Mr. Jenkins.
That's right.
But you're saying, Miss Aiken, when you pulled up on Mr. Aiken's mother and she was driving out, you noticed the body structure and you said...
Well, the thing that seems a bit inconsistent in what Miss Bonnie is saying is that when she's asked to explain why Mr. Aikens signed her birth certificate, she says that when she first gave birth, Mr. Aikens signed the birth certificate after she'd gone to sleep. That just flat out seems like a lie, but the defendant denies ever saying it.
No, I did not tell her that, Your Honor.
How could she make up a story like that?
Well, then she took me the wrong way, but I didn't tell her that. I didn't tell her nothing like that.
That's why, Your Honor, I had wanted to go back and...
30 years is a very long time to be just sprung up to something like this. She says that if it wasn't for Mr. Jenkins and his mom, she would be dead or something terrible would have happened to her because her mom is a very inconsistent person. She says that her grandmother just boarded her off to Mr. Jenkins, basically selling her off because her mother wasn't there to take care of her.
Gave me to Henry Jenkins and his mom.
Did they ever say to you that they had doubt as to whether or not Mr. Jenkins was your biological father?
Mr. Jenkins had told me that, well, your mom said that you're not my daughter.
The plaintiff says her mother is the epitome of selfishness and she was mad that her daddy wouldn't sleep with her, and that's why she was spitting on her. Though her mother is adamant that Mr. Jenkins is her biological father, the plaintiff says this is highly irrelevant because yes, he was her daddy because he took care of her and she'll always see him as her daddy. She just wants the truth. But then in her search for the truth, her mother sabotaged her.
Went and told them the reason why I want to know who my daddy is for some money. And them people start looking at me like I want money from them. And I told them I don't want anything from y'all.
But then
I just want to know who my daddy is.
All right, well, and
Mr. Aiken is in court and he says that he's still married to the defendant. Wow, that just got weird because the plaintiff never even knew him before she saw the name on the birth certificate. He says that the first time he saw her was when she was 3 or 4 months old and he didn't see her again till she came to him. He wasn't even the one that signed the birth certificate.
And he said that I didn't fill it out. It wasn't me. Your mom told me you're not my child.
That's right.
Yeah.
I sure did tell her that.
And he said that, well, I'm gonna help you.
She says he promised her a DNA test, but when it was time, he basically shunned her, and when she finally tried to confront him about it, he told her that he doesn't have the $400 to prove her paternity. Judge Lake decides to check the results.
it has been determined by this court, Mr. Aiken, you are not father.
If she needs some help from me, anything I could do for her, I would do it.
Well, if it's not Mr. Aikens, it's got to be Mr. Jenkins, right? Judge Lake decides to check the second paternity results.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Jenkins and Ms. Brittany Aiken are not related.
I'm sorry, Your
I'm
Honor,
so
but
sorry.
I always had thought that was your daddy.
This isn't a friendly one. The plaintiff came for war. He says that his ex-girlfriend is nothing but a convincing liar and a gold digger. He says that she's cheated on him several times, too many times to count. He says that all she wants to do is pin her 9-month-old child on him for her own benefits.
Because you say your ex-girlfriend is nothing but a conniving, gold-digging cheater whose goal is to pin her 9-month-old son legacy on you for her own personal gain. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that was a lot. The defendant says that the plaintiff is a compulsive liar who's denying her child because she no longer wants to be with him. She says she knows when and where her son was conceived, and she's in court to prove paternity.
Denying your son out of spite because you no longer want to be with him. You claim to know exactly when and where your son was conceived, and you intend to prove paternity today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Campbell,
The plaintiff says that ever since he's known the defendant, all she's done is take from him, but immediately he didn't have enough money anymore. She left him high and dry. The plaintiff seems to have contested information about it. She says that they were in a relationship and they were together almost every time.
tell me, you say you know for certain Mr. Campbell is your child's father.
We were in a relationship and we stayed together and we was together every day.
All right.
The plaintiff says he's seen on the defendant's phone that she talks to different people, sends them her pictures, and not her cute kinds. She basically does everything in her power so that he won't trust her, and he doesn't trust her, but in terms of her child's paternity. But then he says there was also a time that he saw her in bed with a strange man.
And I seen her almost half naked in there with another man, and the man is sitting on the edge of the bed, but she has a whole
No,
living
he
room.
was sitting on the bench and I had pants on.
You know that's a lie. That is, Your Honor, that is a lie.
The defendant says the man is talking about is her close friend of hers, and at that time she was pregnant. She says her friend is a married man and they've known one another since forever. But then the plaintiff says that she's known for sleeping with married men. Well, this case is starting to look like a battle between exes.
She's the compulsive
You're definitely
liar.
the compulsive liar.
She's the compulsive liar.
You say Ms. McSear was at her house with her shirt off with another man and she admits it. So you come in there and what happened?
The plaintiff explains that when he got inside the house, and he asked her who was in her bedroom, she didn't have an answer for him. So he pushed his way to the bedroom, and that's where he saw the man who had his head down. These people are really something.
You are little.
Why wouldn't you be? Hey,
Nobody's scared of you.
he was terrified.
He
Your
was
Honor. He was terrified. Let's get that right.
Jerome, are you terrified of Mr. Campbell?
Ooh.
The defendant says she knows when she conceived. There was a hurricane and she couldn't go anywhere, and it just so happens that both of them were staying together at that time. No electricity, nowhere to go, so they made a baby. Well, once again, the plaintiff denies this.
Left multiple times. during the
Yeah,
hurricane.
get from the mailbox.
I left-
From the mailbox.
I didn't drive
From
over
the
a tree. I
mailbox.
didn't-
You was a bum when I met you.
Who? I was?
I put your bags in my house. I moved you in with me and my kids.
Because I had money.
Judge Lake decides to check the calendar to confirm if the hurricane night was the night of conception, and it seems like she was telling the truth, which the plaintiff later admits to. The defendant even says that they planned the baby. He wanted another child, and they talked about it multiple times.
He want to deny him because he don't have no money and he don't want to take care of him. Everything for my son.
I ain't got no money because you took it all.
You don't give me nothing. You done bought 2 packs of diapers. He's 9 months.
You taking it till this day.
That's $40.
She's a gold.
Seriously, this set of exes are just absolutely different. The plaintiff says that now the defendant is trying to get money from her parents because he's no longer giving her anything. The plaintiff says he has some photos that he wants to share with the court. He says that over the course of their relationship, the defendant has sent him 4 different pictures of 4 different men holding the child. I mean, who wouldn't be doubtful after that?
Me and those pictures, none of them was me. So are you 100% sure that I am the father of this child? But you're sending me pictures of somebody else holding this child? Just random men that she have sexual relationships with.
The defendant admits to it and says that she was trying to get back at him for rejecting the child, whereas all she's doing is fueling him with doubts. How ironic indeed. Well, there's more. The plaintiff says he saw a text message on her phone where another man sends her a message asking where's the baby. The defendant defends herself.
And I went through your
Keep
phone.
lying. You
after
never
that
was
fact.
with me. You never was with me. You never was with me. Not one day of my pregnancy. Not one.
All right, so I'm gonna get to that briefly. So what is your other piece of evidence, sir?
Your Honor, a friend of the family contacted me and they told me.
Another doubt if this includes information given to him by his family friend who tells him that they saw her get a paternity test for another man. The defendant says that's a lie. She says that all he's been doing is lying, trying to seem like the decent party and all of it, when the previous night he came to her room telling her that he wants to be with her.
To be with me, and he loved me, and he just want to be a family.
And so, were you together last night?
Oh, no, he was with his girlfriend.
Why are you looking like that, Mr. Campbell?
I'm confused.
It's very obvious that the plaintiff at least hasn't been telling the whole truth. I mean, why lie? It doesn't serve you anything relevant. Even Judge Lake is seeing the very thick lines of deception in the plaintiff case. Judge Lake decides to check the results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Campbell, you are the father.